Alright, what's going on, everybody? Mini Machu here. It's the Monday after UFC 311. The first pay-per-view of the year is over, and it was a banger, at least from my perspective from inside the arena. So I might sound a little bit different. My voice is still recovering from all the yelling, cheering for Jiri Prohaska, you know what I'm saying?
Stop it!
Me and my homies, we showed up like during the second round of the Ricky Turcios fight, and everything seemed like it was an average or great fight. The only stinker fight of the night was Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira, and I actually had some pretty high hopes for that lightweight bout, but whatever. UFC 311, we got Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira in the most exciting fight of the night. After that fight was over, it was just banger after banger after banger. 4 undefeated fighters lost their O on Saturday night, and a lot of parlays were ruined, I bet, because of that Peyton Talbot loss. I bet a bunch of people just threw him on the parlay just to make a little bit extra money, just for him to get dominated most of the fight. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the main event with Islam and Money Moicano. I think that it basically went like everyone figured it would. Moicano took the fight on a day's notice despite already having a training camp for a southpaw. What was there to say about this, really? Moicano was outclassed anywhere the fight went, and Islam did what the champ should do to the number 10 contender and made it look easy. Finally being dubbed the pound-for-pound fighter on the planet by Dana White until it's convenient to say otherwise. That or negotiations with John Jones are probably going poorly right now. Islam is now the record holder for the most lightweight title defenses at 4 and a win streak of 15, second most in UFC history. I still think that Islam is the second greatest lightweight behind Khabib despite having that extra title defense. My argument was that his 4th title defense was against Renato Moicano, who isn't a high-level caliber fighter. Islam also has 1 loss in the division, and Khabib made all of his fights look a lot less competitive than Islam's were. If he were to get 1 more title defense against someone like Arman, then I would probably crown him the greatest lightweight ever to do it. So what should be next for Islam then? Dana White came out and said at the post-fight press conference that Arman needs to work his way back to a title shot after pulling out so close to the fight. Arman said he wants to face Oliveira for 5 rounds, and I'm not complaining about that. I think that fight is just as unfinished as Islam versus Arman was also. If the UFC decides they don't want Arman versus Oliveira, then you do Charles Oliveira versus Islam, the rematch. Other than those two, I really have no idea other than a surprise weight class movement by Topuria, but it's unlikely, I think. Moicano did sort of lose a little bit of stock, doing almost no damage and losing so easily. But Moicano should probably face Beneil for real this time, or I could see him getting booked with Paddy Pimblett and having a fun fight build up and an actual good fight, I think. Also, a side note is that the last 2 people Islam has faced KO'd or TKO'd Benoit Saint Denis in the second round before getting submitted by a Darce choke from Islam. And then we moved down to the co-main event, which Joe Rogan said was the greatest bantamweight title fight he's ever seen. And thinking about it, there hasn't been a true 5-round war for the 135 title. The fights that come to mind is Dillashaw Cruz Garbrandt as being the most entertaining off the top of my head right now. From my perspective in the crowd, it was an A-tier fight with high suspense. It was 2-2 going into the 5th round on 2 scorecards, and I had it 3 rounds to 2 for Umar inside the arena, but I need to watch it back a couple of times and see about that 3rd round. Umar showed to be high caliber, and I don't get the online consensus or the feelings that he sold or got dominated by Morabi. It was tied on 2 judges' scorecards with 5 minutes to go. He probably didn't deserve the title shot in all honesty, but the UFC did need a new face for Morabi to fight, and it turned out to be a banger. In the arena, that was probably the loudest the crowd got, except for maybe Jiri. They were cheering for takedowns, which is crazy. People are starting to love Morabi, and he does deserve it. His win streak is one of the best ever. Nurmagomedov, O'Malley, Cejudo, Yan, Aldo, Moraes. Okay, maybe not Marlon Moraes. You have one of the greatest ever in Jose Aldo, a double champ in Henry Cejudo, and 2 former champs in Yan and Sean. And then to beat a Nurmagomedov in the grappling, very slightly, but he did beat him. And taunting Khabib while doing it is crazy. He's got to be so strong from some of these positions to not let Umar take him down. Morabi should probably face Petr Yan again, and hopefully the UFC doesn't choose Sean O'Malley. Umar should probably fight Sean O'Malley as they were the 2 last dudes to lose to Morabi. And then to my fight of the night, Jiri and Jamal Hill was intense. From the walkouts to the stare down to the fight, everything was awesome. From my eagle eye view in the arena, I could see Pereira staring Jamal Hill through the whole walkout, then Jamal staring Jiri down, and then Pereira just mocking them both. Jiri looked noticeably better with his counterpunching, looking like Pereira and Khalil the way he would pull back and fire the left hand. He still keeps his hands way low and uses a lot of big movements to evade strikes coming his way. Jiri's head kicks were missing every time, and I'm surprised that Jamal basically tried to box this entire fight and didn't throw any of his head kicks. It showed how sloppy his footwork was and how he couldn't handle the angles that Jiri was taking on him, even though it was just big bouncy movements. Jiri looked better fighting at range in this fight, and every time he would get close into that clinch, he would get the worst of the exchanges. Jamal Hill kept looking for the knees, but only could land them to the body. Jiri did evolve in this fight like he said he would, just slightly, but he said he wanted to work on his hands being up, and they were kind of still dropping low. Still, his punches looked precise on Saturday night, and it was clear he came into this fight looking to counter. The division is a bit messy with everyone having already fought people at the top or having fights booked already. So Jiri would probably be rewarded with number 7 Khalil, and Hill would probably fight Rakic or maybe the loser of Jan and Olberg while he recovers from that knockout loss. And I kind of feel bad for Jamal. He's not like a real bad guy, he's just real competitive. Just the Pereira stuff was real stupid, but seeing how he handled the loss later that night, or crying, making his way back behind curtains, and then playing with that dude outside the arena who dressed up just like Jiri, makes me feel a little bit bad, and he's not a true bad guy of the UFC. Jamal even shared a drink with the real Jiri Prochazka later that night at a bar. He seems like a chill dude, you just gotta avoid his Twitter. Jailton Almeida had a great performance against Sergey Spivak, only getting taken down, which shouldn't have happened really. Aspinall and Jones would mark him, but getting a KO in the first round is a good sign that he's evolving. Almeida should probably get rewarded with Sergey Pavlovich, and Spivak should get Rosenstrike. And the main card opener I predicted almost perfectly. I figured that Reinier de Ritter would be aware to shoot for the legs as soon as he could because of the power from Kevin Holland, and he did. Taking Kevin Holland down pretty easily, playing in the stack guard for a little bit, and then making his way to the back to find the submission. He's just a wizard compared to Kevin Holland on the ground, and I have no idea what Kevin Holland is doing now. He doesn't care about fighting unless you're Rampage Jackson, and he's just in it for the money. If the fight seems hard, he just takes the easy way out or doesn't take the preparation seriously. Getting submitted in 3 minutes is an easy paycheck, and he didn't take too much damage, so that's good for him, I guess, right? RDR called out Whitaker and Chimaev, but I don't think he deserves that yet. I think he should probably fight Paulo Costa. Be a pretty fun fight. Holland looked terrible and needs to go back down to 170, but it just depends on what he wants. If he wants to stay at 185, then I think that Michel Pereira would be a good fun fight for him. And the biggest favorite of the card loses. I thought that Talbot was going to be better prepared for the chain wrestling of Barcelos. Send him to Dagestan for 2-3 years and forget about Frank Ocean. I did think that the veteran would look good, but not that good. Talbot pushed the pace in the third round where he found success, but he should have done that early. It was just too little too late. They need to build him back up like they did with Sean O'Malley. It's just too early to give him that tough of a competitor and a veteran of the division in Raoni Barcelos. Azamat Bekoyev knocked out Zachary Reese bad. I don't know what the broadcast looked like, but he was laying down in the cage for a cool 2 to 3 minutes before helping him out of the cage as soon as he could walk. But there were still like 3 officials holding him up as he was exiting the octagon. It was a fun short fight and Azamat looked good. Not Anthony Smith, aka Bogdan Guskov, TKO'd Elikana. Elikana took the fight on I think like less than 2 weeks notice, and for the first round he looked pretty good, getting the takedown and making his way to the back, despite probably weighing 20 pounds less at least than Bogdan Guskov. Alright, Mini Machu here the day after. I still haven't uploaded the video, but the California State Athletic Commission released the fighter's weight of the day of the event. And they released a lot of fighters' weight, and I'll just throw them up on screen right here. And I actually thought Islam Makhachev was weighing a lot more. Hanato Moicano weighed in more than Islam, which is crazy. So yeah, I was wrong on my fact right there. But he still weighed significantly less. And another side note is if you look at the far right, it says 147 and below is 8-ounce gloves, and 147.1 and above is 10-ounce gloves. And I didn't know that was a thing. I don't know if that's only in California or if that's a nationwide or worldwide MMA thing. But that is a little bit interesting that the gloves change depending on your weight class and how fat you are. Guskov was preparing for a striker and Johnny Walker, so Elikana was able to get that takedown pretty easily, I think. After the first round and being on the back, he was gassed. Bogdan started being pressure heavy and got a submission after Elikana took that knee. It should have been stopped right there once he took that knee, but whatever. Elikana was probably looking for a way out, and it's a good thing that Bogdan didn't want to keep hurting the debutant. Grant Dawson and Diego Ferreira had a stinker of a fight where it was basically just wrestling and control. It was a good win for Dawson where he was dominant, but a bad look for the fans to care about him. His striking still looks slow and winging punches, but the takedown threat helped him on the feet. He should probably fight a contender now, maybe Jalen Turner. The rest of the fights were okay, and I don't feel like much talking about them. They were average. As a fan, from the second fight to the main event, it was a banger of an event. I would probably give it an 8.5 out of 10, but I'm probably being a little bit biased being in the arena. But I can't lie, that whole main card was hype. Walking around inside the arena, I got to say what's up to Brian Battle and Ode Osborne, and they were pretty cool actually. I even knocked off all of Brian Battle's rings he was wearing on his finger. I even got posted on Alex Pereira's Instagram after the event because one of my friends was being all nosy with some tinted black SUVs, so that was pretty dope.
The GOAT! El mejor! Niño Cruz!
Chama, please.
He looked pretty scared after rolling down the window because of the fact his car was getting surrounded, and once the light turned green, I told everyone back up so that he wouldn't get shot or robbed being in LA. I'm gonna be telling everyone that was the night I saved Alex Pereira and Polino Cruz in Los Angeles. I would recommend going to a UFC event at least once to anyone. I wish I could go every weekend like the commentators, but that's the video. The first pay-per-view of the year is done, and the best fighter on the planet broke the lightweight title defense record set by BJ Penn back in 2009 when he fought Diego Sanchez. It was definitely the most fun night of the year so far, so make sure you elbow that subscribe button and kick that like button, and I'll catch y'all later.